All right, number 11 for Security Plus. Going to dive into our practice exam. I want to remind you as you're going through this, I often get asked, how soon should I schedule my exam? When should I schedule my exam once I start? I recommend 60 to 90 days. From the time that you first started studying for Security Plus, from the time that you said, hey, I'm going to do this, and you're serious about it, not half-assing it, excuse my language, right? But actually serious about it, that should be 60 to 90 days, right? And you should be studying every single day. You should not be going through and being like, oh, I'll study on Monday, right? The reason we schedule the exam 60 to 90 days is because it does the psychological thing in your mind. It says, this is when my deadline is. And because I have a deadline then I'm more apt to study for it because the deadline approaches, I'm going to become more and more entrenched with that, right? And that's why I highly suggest that you schedule it for 60 to 90 days out and just prep for it. Just get ready for it, right? And of course, that's what we're doing today. We're going to do 5 questions, ranging from difficulty from slightly easy over to abundantly hard, and see if we can't stump you. See if we can't stump you as you practice your Security Plus. All right, let's jump right into it. Question number 1, which of the following best describes an MITM attack? MITM. I specifically did not spell this out, right? You'll often see acronyms inside your certification exam. And so I try to use those acronyms on our practice exam questions. Not too difficult, not too difficult. I think most people know what an MITM attack is, right? If not, that's okay. Don't look it up. Don't look it up. Just take a guess. Think about it. Think about it as you're going through this. Just take a guess if you don't know the answer. We're going to give you the answer. We really are. So again, don't need to go through the process of just, looking things up on Google. That would be the wrong way to do this, right? All right, let's try and speed this up a little bit today. Let's go ahead and answer this question. If you need more time, you can always pause the video. So which of the following best describes a man-in-the-middle attack? Well, I think we can get rid of D. An attacker encrypts users' data and demands a ransom for the decryption key. What would be a ransomware attack? That would be a ransomware attack, not a man-in-the-middle attack. C. An attacker floods a network with excessive traffic to cause a denial of service. It's almost in the name, a denial of service attack, right? So I think we can get rid of that one. That leaves A or B. Let's start with B. An attacker intercepts and potentially alters communication between two parties without their knowledge. Or A. An attacker gains access to a system by guessing a user's password. I think we know that A is a brute force attack. That means that B must be a man-in-the-middle attack. That's going to be a correct answer right there. There we go. All right, question number 2. During a security assessment, an organization finds that an external attacker successfully exploited vulnerability in their web server. The attacker was able to execute arbitrary code on the server. Which type of attack was most likely used? Now, this one's an overly difficult one, believe it or not. Not as easy as you may think. And so definitely something we want to get involved in, right? So, what do you think? What do you think on this one? I know. I think a lot of people are going to go one direction. I think most people are going to go that direction. All right. Let's kind of hit this one, right? So if you need more time, of course, you can pause it. During a security assessment, an organization finds an external attacker successfully exploited a vulnerability in their web server. The web server. The attacker was able to execute arbitrary code on the server. Which type of attack is most likely used? Right? I think that a man-in-the-browser attack, right? This is where the attacker manipulates transactions, right? They manipulate the transactions. It's similar to man-in-the-middle attack. A little bit different, though, where they're manipulating the transactions in real time. That would be a man-in-the-browser attack. Not what we're looking for here. Then we have cross-site scripting attack. This targets a web application, the web application itself, right? So I think it's not going to be cross-site scripting, XSS, right? So get rid of B. That leaves SQLI, or buffer overflow. Now, I think most people went with SQLI, right? Server query language injection. However, SQLI targets the web application, not the web server. And if you read the question, an organization finds an external attacker successfully exploited a vulnerability in the web server. The key word there, web server. And in that case, it's got to be a buffer overflow. Buffer overflow. This attack involves in sending more data than the buffer can actually handle. And that's exploiting the actual web server, not the application for the web server. That's where the difference lies. And so the answer is going to be C, buffer overflow, right there. I know, that's a cheap one. It's a cheap one. I told you you're going to get more difficult. I told you you're going to get a little bit more difficult on that one. All right, question number 3. A company has implemented a mandatory access control model to protect its classified data. Which of the following elements is most critical for determining access in this model? What do you think? I feel like this one's actually easier than the last one. And so we're not going to spend a lot of time on this one. If you need more time, of course, you can pause it. I feel like we can go through with this one, right, though? I feel like this one's actually should have been number 2. I really do. A company has implemented mandatory access control model to protect its classified data. Which of the following elements is most critical for determining access in this model? Discretionary policies. No, that would be discretionary access control. That would be DAC. Group membership. Not something we would see in mandatory access control. I would almost relate that more to RBAC, to be honest. I really would. Group membership. So into groups or in roles, right? Also roles, as user roles would be, again, RBAC, role-based access control. That leaves labels and clearances. Well, we all know that mandatory access control is synonymous with labels and clearances. That would be things like secret, top secret, classified, or confidential, or whatever, right? So mandatory access control definitely uses those labels and the clearance associated with them. So the answer is going to be B. I feel like that was a pretty easy one. All right, let's notch this up a little bit. You are a security analyst investigating a suspected breach on a company's web server. You review the following logs. Based on the log entries, which action should the analyst prioritize to address the potential security threat? Lot of data on this one. What do you think about this one? What do you think? I'm going to give you some time on this one. I really am. A lot going on here. When you get these types of questions, right, it's sometimes easier to look at the possible answers and then reverse it, right? Reverse lookup. Rather than looking over the log and trying to figure out exactly what the log's telling you, look at what the answers are telling you and see if it makes sense in your mind, right? And so I feel like that would be the better way of answering these types of questions during Security Plus. I don't think I would read the logs. Matter of fact, I don't. I don't read the logs straight through and try to figure it out on my own. I read what the question's saying and then I reverse it. I go, okay, does this make sense? Is this something that I could utilize? That's one of the tricks that we can utilize to save some time on our Security Plus. Let's try this one. Right? Let's go through this. Okay. Let's start with D. Reset all users' passwords to mitigate potential credential compromise. And so I think we need to kind of read through this one. There's really no easy way to do this one unless we can see signs of maybe of somebody able to get logged into the information, right? So we'd have to see multiple users in this having access in there, right? Which is incredibly difficult to understand via a log. I'm almost tempted just to say D right off the bat. It doesn't make sense just from the logs of it. And I haven't even read the log, right? And so if we read through the log, we've got our IP address. We see the address here, assuming the date time, right? And then we see getindex.php. We can see that it's 200 OK in 1024 bits. And then we see a post. So the user posted something into the login. We can see that, usually probably trying to get access into the system. And then they got the admin dashboard PHP. They got a 403 and then 720. And then it looks like they tried to get, and then they went to etc password wd password file. And again, 200 OK, so they got access to password files. And then it looks like they did admin, action, and then they grabbed an image, I want to say, right? And then index PHP. Okay, so a lot going on here. I right off the bat, this is the one that concerns me the most. This password WD right here, right? Because that's a password file. And so reset all users' passwords to mitigate potential credential compromise. I like that one. But is there any indication of a compromise actually on the system? And I would say I don't see anything. I mean, we do definitely have this right here where somebody grabbed that, right, which is concerning, but we don't have anything saying that it actually was compromised, okay? Review login attempts for login HP to identify brute force attack patterns. there's nothing in here to suggest a brute force attempt. We're not seeing a lot of login attempts. We're not seeing any denials. Matter of fact, we see a 200 OK, right? And so not something I would indicate with that one, right? We can investigate IP address 203.0.113.50 for attempting direct directory transversal. And if we look over here, we can see 203, right? And it went straight to the get password right off the bat, and then WP admin, right? And then get. So we're seeing get, right? Definitely indicative of a direct directory transversal from an IP address. Definitely something that we would see. And the way we see that is because we're saying one directory, then to a next directory, and then over to a new directory. And so definitely something that is possible, right? And then block IP address for attempting unauthorized access. And if we look at 1.10 right here, we can see get index PHP. I'm not seeing anything for this, right? Matter of fact, the next one, because we see .15 right here, right? The next one is .10, and we're seeing admin dashboard, right? But I don't see anything on here that says block the IP address for unauthorized access. I'm not seeing any unauthorized access. I'm not seeing that. So I think the one that makes the most sense is this one right here, B, right? And so we know that the password file is a sensitive file, and it's typically involved with highly suspicious activity, right? It could indicate also an ongoing attack. We could indicate a problem with it, right? While I look at this, right? If I'm looking at one .50, right off the bat, if I see .50 right here, we can see indications that it went from a get to a get to a get. We're not posting anything, but we're definitely trying to get aspects of it. And that's concerning, especially since they're jumping all over the place to some pretty sensitive information, right? Like, for instance, we know this is this password file, right? We know that's pretty sensitive. That's our passwords, right? We also know that WP config PHP file, the next one right here, right? We know that is potential for vulnerabilities, especially in WordPress, right? We know that, and that's what that WP stands for. And could be indicative of an ongoing attack. And so I feel like with this one, incredibly difficult to spoof out, right? Or sniff out, I should say. But I feel like directory transversal is definitely going to go in here. And so the answer is going to be B. The answer is going to be B, right? I don't think we see anything for using passwords. It doesn't make sense, even with this. I feel like this is one of those, we try to get you with the password, we want you to do it. I feel like that's a misnomer. I feel like this one right here, C, is a throwaway. There's nothing to indicate of a password attack. And then 110, attempting to gain authorized access. Again, we don't see anything for that. And so B is the only one that makes sense. The answer is going to be B. There we go. All right. Question number 5. Match the following types of security controls with the description and example. Oh, so this is a threefer. This is a threefer. You have to identify the security control. Then you have to identify the definition. And then you have to identify an example of what's going on. Right, so definitely a little bit more on the access model, right? Definitely more on the side of doing one for one. Now, I'm going to tell you, if you don't and you're watching this video, go ahead and grab a piece of paper and pen. I think it's going to be a little bit useful that way, right? Or just grab a Word document and go from there, right? So I don't think I'm going to wait the 5-10 minutes that it's probably going to take you to answer this. So if you need to, go ahead and pause this video. Well, I think we're just going to jump into this one. We're going to jump right into it. Just going to answer that one. All right, so let's start with number 1, preventive control. Preventive control. Preventive control. If we go through that, we know that it's designed to prevent unauthorized access or activities. That's a preventive control. It's right there in the name, right in the definition. And then I feel like for technology or for an example, well, that would obviously be an access control list, right? And so 1. Right off the bat is going to be H, and then F right there, access control. All right, that means 2 would be our next one. I feel like that would be detective control, detects and alerts security personnel of incidents in progress. That would be a detective control, right? And then I feel like H, IDS indicative of detective control. There we go, 2BH. There we go. All right, number 3, corrective control. Corrective control. restores systems to normal use after an incident, right? And that's pretty indicative, right? We often say that a corrective control corrects the issue back to the normal working state. That would be C. And then I feel like a backup solution. Backup solution makes the most sense for that. So it would be, there we go, 2CE would be the correct answer on that one. All right, that means deterrent control. Deterrent discourages unauthorized access through psychological means. Definitely going to be deterrent control. F would be the correct answer on that one. And then D, cameras. Cameras would be the most obvious one for that. Then that leaves us for 5, compensating control. Compensating control provides alternative security when primary control is not feasible. Pretty indicative of a compensating control. And then C, encryption. Encryption. This one would be difficult. I don't think I would have done C right off that. I think C would have been one of the last ones for me if I was going through this list. I think I would skip that one on that one and then use it for that one. But that's okay. That's okay. Number six, administrative control. Ensures employees follow security protocols. Pretty indicative of an administrative control. And then G, security policies. Pretty self-exploring word, that one. AG right there. All right, that leaves number 7. Number 7, physical controls. I feel like E, restricts physical access to critical areas. Pretty much in the name, right? So E would be the correct answer on that one. And then B, man traps. Man traps would be the next one. And that leaves number 8, technical controls. And of course, we haven't done D yet, uses technology to enforce security measures. And we haven't done A, multi-factor authentication. And so that's going to round us up. That's going to be our answers for this long question. Pretty indicative of a PBQ. Pretty indicative of a PBQ. If you found this helpful, I'd appreciate that like, of course, that subscribe. And we will see you next time. Have a good one, everyone.